Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And today we are going to excite you with a show about gluten called You Can't Outrun Your Fork. Dr. Lewis came up with that catchy title. I think he stole it perhaps from someone else, but we liked it. So
thanks, Tara.
That's right. But so we're going to talk to you about foods that might cause you to want more of the same, and some very exciting testing information that we have been waiting a very long time for, where it would be convenient for you and great reports and ways for you to determine gluten or wheat sensitivity. So today, Dr. Lewis, would you explain to us about gluten and why it's such a big problem, and why would someone be intolerant to it, and what does it cause? What's the big deal with gluten? Everything's gluten free, so big deal, right?
I think it is a big deal. Some of the research says it's 1 out of 100 or 2 out of 100 that has gluten intolerance or celiac disease. If you have that kind of GI issues, go see your GI doctor, see your internist, get the test made. Although we're going to tell you about a test that you can do with us that I've found to be, oh my God, blow you into a new reality of knowledge and understanding. Again, I'm going to go down a bunch of rabbit trails. When I read this thing, and Tara was, and everybody should follow Tara. She's a really good health coach, and she writes some pretty intelligent newsletters, just like Brandy does for Janet and me. I think anyone that puts beans in their chili is kind of a heathen and might not love the Lord, but it's not just about beans. Beans can have issues too, but mostly we're going to talk about grain. Grain is not good, and some of the myths, because I really think Janet's going to get into more detail than me, and I hear this all the time, but I'm eating whole wheat bread because I'm getting my whole grains. Well, usually whole wheat bread usually doesn't contain very much of the whole grain, because the number one ingredient is usually called wheat flour. Then people say, but I love my oatmeal. It's like, well, I eat 2 or 3 bowls of oatmeal per year, and they think it's the most nutritious thing you can eat for breakfast. I personally think that's very, very not true, and I think it's better than a breakfast, of sugary cereal. But oatmeal has a pretty high glycemic load, and so I don't think that's a good thing, because it generally means when you have the high glycemic stuff, it usually means that you're going to spend the rest of the day overeating because you're hungry because of the glycemic index.
Well, I think we need to back up a little bit here and tell people why we got so involved with gluten. Before we told people don't eat gluten, it's not good, but at the same time, we didn't have a personal experience with it or where we could relate to, oh my goodness, that's what's causing it. It's many of you have been listening to us for years. Thank you so much. Or someone that's new, the personal history there with why we found this out is because Dr. Lewis was experiencing severe stomach pains to the point he thought he was going to die. I mean, I was giving
literally.
I was giving him everything that I knew to give him, and we know all about nutrition.
For those of you that don't like me, Janet's the one that kept me alive, so nah.
And happy. But I would give him so many things, and it was like nothing was making it right, and it got so bad he tried to take out extra life insurance because he was sure he wasn't going to make it. And you know how God works. He sends people along your path when it's just your bleakest, darkest hour, and shows you something you would not have listened to previously. And in comes a representative, or actually we had one of our vitamin representatives tell us about this company called Vibrant Labs. And they did a lot of blood work with just a little bit of blood. And we were very excited about it because we thought, well, we don't really know what we need to have run. We got a pretty good deal going with our lab companies now. You guys get great pricing on the labs. I don't know how this is going to help us. And she said, but they'll do a gluten test on you and wheat sensitivity and food sensitivity testing. And maybe Dr. Lewis can find out what's wrong. So when we did the testing at that time, it was a blood draw. and it had to be a person that came to your office or they came to your house and they drew the blood and then it was sent off, which we did. And Dr. Lewis came back that he was not only gluten intolerant, but he was borderline celiac disease, which is what that turns into if it's uncontrolled. So, telling someone to quit eating gluten and then seeing it on a report where it's glaring at you, telling you this is the result of you eating gluten, is two different things, which made us want to start offering this test. So Dr. Lewis stopped gluten. He thought, well, if that's the issue, I'll stop it. And he did. And immediately he started feeling better. And I thought, so I did the test. Mine wasn't that bad. It wasn't great. Turns out that anybody who lives in the United States has it to some degree because of the chemicaled crops.
Well, and the increase in gluten in the grains compared to what it was a few decades ago.
Right. And so we both, he more so than I, will make sure he does not eat gluten in a meal. And I cannot tell you the difference in how you feel with your digestive system. If you're suffering from, things like bloating and brain fog and you eat something that you just feel like you're not going to ever process it, it's probably because you have some sort of an allergy to it. But belly pain and diarrhea, joint muscle pain, anxiety, headaches, nausea, confusion, numbness, they're all signs of it. And frankly, with the lab testing the way it was at the time, and I know many of you, and that's why I'm explaining this, many of you have been asking us when you're going to get this going because we really want to do this. We couldn't count on having a person that would draw the blood all the time, everywhere, because we are able to draw lab across the United States. It's not always a convenient place for someone to get drawn. So Vibrant literally just came out with the ability to have it as a finger prick test in your home. So the way it works is we've set everything up on our website. It's under specialty panels tab at the top, and it explains to you what all is in this test. And these tests that we've seen before, because Dr. Lewis has looked at them many times from different companies, they're about $3,000 to run what we're running for $600. And the fact that it can be a finger prick test and in your home, so you're secure, you don't have to go to a lab, which a lot of people are scared of now, and it doesn't take that much blood to do all of this, we're just so excited to be bringing it to you. But they have what you'll get for that $600 is a wheat zoomer panel, a leaky gut panel, and a food sensitivity profile panel of 96 foods. When you fill out the health survey, if you've not done our health survey, it'll ask you, it includes wheat, gluten, and lectins. And then you'll be able to pick 2 more primary foods that you eat the most of, and those are added. But it detects wheat and gluten-related disorders. It aids in the specific recognition of antibodies to wheat peptides, including gluten and non-gluten components, along with intestinal permeability. It allows detection of protein antibodies associated with wheat and gluten sensitivities for information to reduce, monitor, and manage the inflammatory effects of those sensitivities. So you'll be able to tell, and it gives it to you in beautiful reports. It tells you what you may be missing nutritionally, not specifically our products, but just in general, which Dr. Lewis will then turn around and come up with products that are ours to correlate to these tests so that you'll know which things you need. So Dr. Lewis, can you explain to us how leaky gut, why would we test for that so much? What is it we're trying to see with leaky gut?
Well, the gluten causes zonulin, and zonulin opens up the gaps, and then the leaky gut can absorb poorly digested food, proteins, bacteria, or microbes, and it gets things in your bloodstream you don't really want. It's just a bad thing. Anybody that's listened to enough of my podcast know that I get in different moods. Well, I'm in a different mood today. My main thing I want to say today is we named this thing, it's hard to outrun your fork. It's also hard to lose weight when you have an overactive knife and fork. So, folks, you've got to take responsibility. Leakiness is very, very, very common. I'm going to get into maybe a little bit of detail, but, I looked up some research, and it said leakiness can be reduced by herbs like quercetin, Journal of Pharmacology. And we have had trouble keeping our quercetin/bromelain in stock, although we have it in stock now, because there was plenty of research that says quercetin's really, really good for things that are respiratory illnesses. You draw your own conclusion there. But it's really good because it has not just the quercetin, but rutin, bromelain, papain, pancreatin, which includes lipase, protease, and amylase, because you need the enzymes, and it's really, really good. My bronchi have always been my weak area, and I've been taking 2 in the morning, 2 at night, and, it also lowers inflammation because that shows in your C-reactive protein or chance heart attack and stroke. And I've been taking it, and oh my God, I felt better than I felt in years. But giving up the gluten was a good thing. So think about the gut leakiness can be reduced by taking the quercetin. It's not just about lowering your C-reactive protein. It's about all kinds of other things. I'd say get away from grains. I have plenty of stuff here, depending on how much you want to get into. But you have to, I had one patient says, well, I did a test and I learned to get off of whatever food was bothering her. The number one is wheat. Number two is milk. Like if you have colitis or IBS. And again, if you want a really good diagnosis, go see your GI doctor, gastroenterologist. But normally for a colitis, IBS, dairy's 41% a problem. Wheat, they say 30%. Actually, I think that should be reversed, but this is what this research said. Then it starts getting personal. The third one on the list is chocolate. The fourth one is coffee. Man, that hurts. Both of those hurt me. Then a little bit, nuts. Well, the first thing I do when I get home is grab a handful of walnuts. Citrus, sometimes tea, rye. Rye also contains gluten, potatoes, barley, and oats. And many times oats actually has gluten in it, not because it has gluten in the oats, but because it's grown in the field where the wheat was grown. So I want to talk.
It's interesting you mentioned oatmeal, though, because I remember before I do all of this, it's like that was the one thing you could count on. If you ate, it made you go to the bathroom. Well, now that I've been off of gluten, if I do a bowl of oatmeal, it still makes me go to the bathroom, but it's more like a reaction to the oatmeal. It's making you go. It's not because it's like helping you with fiber. It's like shoving it through because it irritated it, which you don't put that together until you totally don't do it anymore.
Yeah, one of the symptoms, and I've told you many times on these podcasts, be careful about say, oh, I have that symptom. Well, that list of symptoms could go with all sorts of other conditions, or it could go with gluten, it could go with thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the issues is you'll feel like you've got a ball or a bunch of rocks in your intestines, and that's one of the real common things we hear is, well, I can't poop good. Well, that's most of America, because I think, even though I just read dairy's the worst thing, I personally think it's wheat, and I made some notes here. There was some really good, well-done research that says during World War II, there was a bread shortage, and in Finland, Norway, Sweden, Canada, and the United States, there was fewer hospitalizations for schizophrenia when the food shortages made the bread unavailable, only to require an increased number of hospitalizations when wheat consumption resumed after the war was over. Now think about all these people that are irritated, agitated, bat poop crazy, because wheat, actually there's some good research. This one comes from Psychiatry and Journal of Science, says wheat can cause schizophrenia through gut irritation. I've said that one before. Wheat produces something called exorphins, which is like Valium. Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine. So people say, but I crave that stuff. Yeah, well, it's the yeast that you've been feeding, and we've talked about yeast and brain fog. So when Janet says brain fog, unclear thinking, is it the gluten? Is it the wheat? Is it the yeast that you've been growing? Doesn't matter. You just have to break the cycle. I think the worst thing you can put in your mouth, besides arsenic and cyanide, may be, I think, wheat. It's a terrible thing.
Which this, because of the testing the way this is, with just a finger prick, they're actually getting little blood droplets, and it's not, you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to have to take a whole bunch of blood droplets out. It's a smear. There's a information sheet in the kit when it comes to you on how to do it. I watched the video on it. They have really got it down to a fine art, all the way from alcohol preps, cleaning off the outside of the package when you mail it back. The whole thing is very detailed, so you won't be able to mess it up. They have everything in there you need, and it's going to be great for children because you don't have to take a lot of blood. I mean, what kid likes going to have their blood drawn to have lab? That's been one of our hardest things to get done, and then they have to take so much to see a lot of this. It's the kids traumatized with this. What Dr. Lewis is saying, it's a lot of the reasons why the kids are just jumping off the walls out of control. And so then you'll know what's causing it when you do this specific testing. That's funny. Janet and I have a different set of notes, so we just kind of see if we can dance. I can't dance real well, but we seem to, and literally with a different set of notes. I don't know what she has, and she doesn't know what I have. There was a huge, very comprehensive clinical trial, and it was dealing with autistic children. And autism is a pretty double-edged sword if you want to talk about it. But they did measures of autistic behavior, but it showed obvious and great improvement when they eliminated gluten and the casein from dairy. Remember, I just talked about wheat and dairy. And autistic kids got better because it goes back to the guts. And the same is true. Janet says bouncing off the walls is also true with ADHD. Just the elimination of wheat, I can tell a huge difference in how my grandkids act based on what they've been eating. And another interesting fact about gluten sensitivity is it causes low vitamin D levels.
And there's also massive amount of research about autistic kids. Their mothers had lower vitamin D levels. That was one of the things that was very common. And autistic kids have lower vitamin D than other kids, and the other kids don't have high enough vitamin D. And
that's one of the things they're finding with the people that are all getting this COVID is that they've got low vitamin D levels for the most part.
So what does it tell you? Right. Vitamin D, super duper, oh my God, important. And, one of the things, I'm in my smart aleck mood, but, in the past few weeks, 3 months, if anything, it should have taught us that stupidity spreads faster than a virus. Sorry.
Right. So I'm just saying, I just think it's very interesting that with vitamin D levels, so many people tell us, well, I'm taking vitamin D and it's hardly moving. Well, part of it is the brand you're taking. The other part is sometimes we have to really up the amount of vitamin D we give someone, which we've always found kind of odd that they have to take that much D just to bring it up some. And now they're associating this wheat gluten sensitivity with lowering it.
With impaired nutrient absorption. And I cannot tell you how many wonderful people that have an educated ear that goes way beyond their intelligence. How many people say, but I don't feel a difference, so I'm not going to take this multivitamin? It's like, but you've got to take so much way beyond the RDA just to deal with your impaired nutrient uptake. Please, 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 if you don't feel a difference, take it anyway. Please, you'll be healthier if you do it long term. And I want to talk about, we've got so many people all over the country that's doing this long term and doing it consistently, Gary and Amarillo. But we got an email and a picture yesterday from a guy in Lake Orion, Michigan. I love this guy. He don't talk to me much. Rob, call me. I just like talking to him. He's funny. But he showed a huge, huge gap in his box. And he said, just wanted you to know, it arrived with one bottle missing. He wasn't going to tell us what it was because he didn't want us to replace it. And Janet says, well, we need to replace it. He said, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to replace it. I have some in reserve. Rob is always planning for the future. He has a bottle or two in reserve, and he's been doing this over 5 years. And, man, if you see his picture on Facebook, it's like, I really can't take credit for the supplements making him so good looking and wise, but I'd like to take credit for it. And you know what he told us? Pay it forward. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rob. You made our day.
It really did. And he said they must have drug it from Texas on the back of the post office from the mail truck all the way to his house, and it looked that way. So whoever found that bottle that fell out, I hope they enjoy taking it and start feeling better.
Yeah, amen.
Some of the other problems with wheat and gluten sensitivity is difficulty concentrating or brain fog. So if you notice you're eating, which I'm going to name off some things that you're eating that you may not realize actually contain gluten. Skin inflammation, eczema, and dermatitis. We have a lot of people that tell us they have that and can't get rid of it. Chronic headaches, weight gain or weight loss, and joint pain or numbness in the legs, arms, or fingers. So if you've taken everything you know of to get rid of leg pain or numbness, try, or joint pain at all, try stopping the gluten.
Yeah, and we had that, we had a question, I guess it was last week, about herpes. And, the best thing you can do for that, besides take the lysine and the vitamin C and the B vitamins, is a gluten-free diet. Neuralgia, gluten-free diet. It's very, very, very important. It's important in psoriasis and eczema also, but on psoriasis and eczema, you have to consider it may be nightshades also. Urinary tract infections, interstitial cystitis, incontinence. It's the worst is dairy, wheat, eggs, corn, chicken, and alcohol. Dadgummit, they keep saying that.
And here's some things you may not think have gluten, but they actually do, which is processed broth and bouillon cubes, fried foods because of the coating on the outside, candies, lunch meats and hot dogs, cold cuts, which I can't believe anybody eats that anyway, but okay.
Hey, I like fried bologna.
Yeah.
That's a southern thing, honey.
Dumplings.
Hey, you're a dumpling.
Crab cakes, imitation fish, seasoned rice, salad dressings.
And you might get gluten from seasoned rice, but we're eating a lot more rice because we're trying not to do gluten, and then rice is more full of arsenic. Wow. You have to take the active multi-minerals in order to offset and push out the heavy metals that are toxic. I know I interrupted her, but I mean there are good alternatives because Cricket up in Illinois, I'm sorry you're in Illinois, honey, but I love you and your husband. Y'all are awesome people. She put a recipe for coconut flour lemon pound cake. If you've got to eat those sweets, Brian, down in Florida, I'm going to come down and take you to dinner. You can do it with coconut flour. And I made cookies with grandkids 2 or 3 weeks ago with, I don't know what kind of flour it was, but it was gluten-free.
Actually, one of the food sensitivity 96 foods, one of the foods they test is brown rice. So if you're eating brown rice, it'll show up on there too.
To see if you have an allergy or no, sensitivity to it, not an allergy.
Seasoned chips and other seasoned snack foods. And poor Dr. Lewis, he would love to have a chip other than just a potato chip. And he says, I want the one with the ranch dressing on it. And I said, okay, let's read the ingredients on the back. And it's not even... There's nothing on it that's natural.
Ingredients.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we're back to just the plain ones because that's going to make your stomach hurt.
And so we got the ones that had some sort of oil and salt. But, if you have to read the ingredients, you shouldn't be eating it because listen to these ingredients. Enriched bleach wheat flour, corn syrup, sugar, high fructose corn syrup. So you got sugar, and sugar. They just had to break it up to make you think you're not eating too much sugar. Hydrogenated vegetable oil and animal shortening, soybean, cottonseed oil, canola oil. All of those are nasty for you. Soy protein isolate, polysorbate 60, soy lecithin, cornstarch cellulose gum, natural and artificial flavors, sorbic acid, yellow number 5, and red number 40. And that's just about a third of the ingredients in, drum roll please, Twinkies.
Wow. That's just sad. I mean, and fortunately, there are products that you can take if you've had gluten or you suspect you've eaten something that had gluten in it and you've got such a sensitivity. One of them we have is called Serenade. It's something you take that helps you break down the gluten to some degree. Again, we're telling you you're better off just not having it, but if you accidentally had a meal and it had it in there, or you just wanted to reduce the effects of it, you could take Serenade. Another one that we have had many people come to love, and it is a come to love type product, it's called Digest Ease. They're little wafers, and we're at the point now, it's like you have a little bit heartburn, you've eaten something bad, Brandy's up there. If I have an ache, I take it. Her dad takes it.
It's really kick, but I can't believe how good it is.
It's mastic.
How well it works.
Yeah, it's mastic gum DGL. And at first you're like, oh, wow, this is interesting. But the more you do it, the better it tastes.
Yeah, it used to taste like dirt. Now it just tastes like, I didn't say it tasted good. It just don't taste bad.
Well, it's just, I think because it helps you so much, the taste change, and you start looking forward to having one because it really calms everything down, and it actually is supposed to help with H. pylori. The mastic gum is. So those are two products. Dr. Lewis, I think, has some other ones. Were you talking about some other products there?
Well, without getting into the research, because we're getting kind of short on time, one of the biggest, baddest probiotics is called ProbioEase. It's a low FODMAP diet compliant. It's room temperature stable, and it is good. Oh, my God, good. I've had a call the other day. Said my son's doing da-da-da-da, and he's having all this. I said, yeah, put him on ProbioEase, and she said after taking 3 of them, his guts quit hurting. And this is a young man that probably has parasites coming out of Africa. I can't diagnose that, but the ProbioEase kicked him into a new reality. And during all this stress of this idiocy that's been going on, the smoke mirrors and bull, the last couple of months, the thing, I've never tried this until I said, oh, to heck with it. I'm going to open a bottle of it and start taking it. It's easy, relax. It's got the GABA, theanine, ashwagandha, valerian, passion flower. It's got everything except the 5-HTP. I always like 5-HTP because it's the piece of God in the bottle. Well, guess what? This Easy Relax is really, really good. It can take me from agitated and irritated to, hey, I'm happy and it's all good.
Yeah, that ProbioEase you mentioned also is made with, doesn't have inulin in it, which is the big thing that people can't have if they have SIBO, the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So if you have a problem taking a probiotic because it bothers your stomach, the chances are is because it contains inulin, which this one is inulin free, which there's not one on the market that I'm aware of that does not have inulin in it. So consider that. We also want to make sure we get to Chad's question that he left us on our podcast question page, which pops up for you guys when you go to our website. So we'd appreciate you asking us some questions. But his question was that the eye doctor stated that he's starting to get cataracts. He wants to know if there's anything he can do to either slow down or reverse this. He was on a product we had called OcuView, twice a week at the time that it was getting worse. I'm not at that point that I need surgery, but I don't want to get there. So he's wanting to know what he can do proactively to slow down the cataracts.
Those eye drops, Janet, what are they called?
Vitality?
Yeah, it's a carnosine, and there's some research that says it will slow, I don't know about reverse, but it will slow the cataract formation. Vitamin C with the bioflavonoids, and folks, vitamin C should not ever be just straight ascorbic acid. Don't go there. We have an omega that's called Omega Eye and Joint, which is a really good balance of the 3s, 6s, and 9s, which is really good. And then we have something, what's it called now? Eye Essentials.
Oh, eye essentials, yes. I do eye essentials. I do the liposomal vitamin C. It's the liquid because it's supposed to be better for eye health. The problem is it's been on back order because everybody and their dog has bought it for COVID. It is coming back in stock. I just had a note today saying that they are about to send it back out to us again, so keep an eye out for that. But like Dr. Lewis said, I think the eye drops, they actually help. I use them as re-wetting drops as well. Yeah. They work better than any re-wetting drops.
So, Chad, we can't make any claims about supplements, but if you put it in, God knows what to do with it. And my eye doctor says, "Oh, Dr. Lewis, you've got cataracts." I said, "How big are they?" He said, "They're babies." He says, "But at your age, you should have this." And I said, "Yeah, I like more light in the room. I use the flashlight more than I used to. But no, I don't have all the other symptoms of it. So yes, I've got cataracts, but they're babies." Where I see on Facebook many of the people I graduated high school with are getting their cataract surgery, and I'm many, many years away from the surgery, it looks like. So yes, long term is the key. And I'm sorry, Chad, I don't really remember how old you are, but I think you're young compared to me. So I would take those and be consistent with it. And, I'm bad about just saying, throw it in, ask God to sort it out, because there's always something that your body's going to use that you don't necessarily feel, but you're doing the right thing.
Good. And it seems that our show has come to an end again, and I think Dr. Lewis may have a little bit of commentary he'd like to add.
Well, we've gone through these stressful times. That's why I opened up the Easy Relax and found out how good it worked. But I would say stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. And sometimes you have to think that some of these people are just going to nasty themselves right out of existence. You can only hope for some of these people to nasty themselves. So think about that for a minute. And have a good day. I mean, it is a choice. You can be happy or you can be something else.
And with that, our show has come to an end. We appreciate you listening. Go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out the health survey, get started. I'm excited about those tests. Order those tests to find out if you're gluten intolerant.
And lots of other things.
Yeah, it takes them a couple of weeks from time you get it and return it. So get started on it now so we can find out what's going on with your health and maybe get you, on the right path here to what the root problem is with what you need for supplements. So you guys have a blessed week, and we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.